Greetings friends, welcome to this week's tactics video. Today we're talking about a masterclass with the Sanguinor in the Angelic Inheritors detachment. This is probably the new way that you should be playing Sanguinor, and this makes him so much more powerful than he was in Liberator Assault Group. So let's get into this week's tactics video. So thanks so much for being here. My name is John and I am the Blood Angels Commander, and every week on this channel I'm going to try and make a video that makes you a better Blood Angels player. So the goals for this video are going to be simple. We're going to work out why the Sanguinor is much better in Angelic Inheritors than he is in Liberator Assault Group. We're going to do some math to see how effective he could be, and then we'll discuss how best to use him. So if you stick around to the end, you should probably know exactly what he can kill, where you should be placing him, and how you can get the most out of him. So in Angelic Inheritors, this is what makes him really strong, right? Each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll hits and wounds of 1. So the Sanguinor is obviously a character unit, so he's rerolling all his hits and wounds of 1. And why is he so good? Well, here's his weapon profile. He's got 8 attacks hitting on 2s, which would reroll 1s, and then he is strength 6 with reroll 1s, dev wounds. Now, with his 8 attacks, hitting on 2s reroll 1s, that's statistically a 97% chance of hitting with his 8 attacks. Here's his chance to wound various different things. So he will wound toughness 3, 97% of the time. He will wound toughness 4 and 5, 77% of the time. He will wound toughness 8, 58% of the time. And he'll wound 7 to 11, and I guess you really don't want to be doing against 7 to 11, 35% of the time. And statistically, he will roll, from these 8 attacks, 1.6 successful 6s for his devastating wounds. So pretty much every time you fight, I mean, if you're gonna have like 7.75 hits successful, so you're gonna get around 1. You're definitely gonna get 1.6 probably from 7.75, but statistically he should be getting around 1.56s every single time he fights. So the enemy toughness is irrelevant for that, right? Like, he's always going to roll 1.56s because he wounds on 6s for devastating and he rerolls 1s. So why is he good then, right? Well, he's good because once per battle, at the end of the opponent's charge phase, if this model is still in reserve, you can select one enemy model that made a charge move. You can set this model up on the battlefield within engagement range. It doesn't say in base contact, it says within engagement range, so technically 0.99 of an inch, and that is important, and we're going to come back to that later. What else has he got, right? Like, he's got deep strike, so he can start off the board and he can savior, or he can just arrive regularly or rapid ingress. He's got fight first, so when he's set up with savior, he will be fighting first, and he's a lone operative. Another thing to just say is that if he is going to savior people, then for potentially 1 CP, you can give him Epic Challenge, right? So when a character unit from your army that is within engagement range of 1 or more attached unit is selected to fight, that character can gain precision. So all these numbers stay exactly the same, but he now has precision on his 8 attacks with dev wounds, and he does have AP 3, which is also pretty cool. 7 wounds, 4 up save. He flies, jump pack, all the sort of good Blood Angel stuff. He's 140 points. He's been this way for a while. So if we're going to fight toughness 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 to 11, the number of devastating wounds doesn't change. I mentioned that before. You statistically should get 3. Or, like, you should get 1.5, which technically averages about 3 devastating wounds. And against the various toughness, 2 damage, EP 3, this is the numbers of saves that they're going to have to make. So if you're going to toughness 3, they're going to have to make 6 saves on top of these devastating wounds. If you're going to toughness 6, they have to make 3 saves on top of these devastating wounds. So optimal targets for the Sanguinor are essentially enemies with less than T6, right? T6 is okay, but ideally you want to be coming in, heroic intervening with Miraculous Savior, fighting first into T5 and less, right? That's great. If they don't have an invulnerable save, that's even better. But if they do have 3 wounds, then damage, or an odd number of wounds, then damage is going to be wasted because he's swinging for 2 each time. Remember, any devastating wounds you get don't spill over like mortal wounds. So just important to know in case you're going to be attacking a bunch of like 2 wound models or 3 wound models, any devastating wounds don't spill over. And before we talk about how to position a Sanguinor correctly to maximize his value, because that's probably one of the most important takeaways from this video, let's talk about how you could actually precision, or like who you could actually precision properly, right? Because we know how many saves you're going to have to take. So let's look at some characters. But if you're getting some value out of the video, or you do get some value today, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell if you want to be notified every time I go live or release a new video. So if we're going to fight into some toughness 3 enemies, if we're going to fight this new Eldar Phoenix Lord that has 5 wounds and a 4-up save, what's the Sanguinor going to do? If you precision him, he's just going to kill it. It's going to have no wounds left. Statistically, he will kill Lixus, no problem. If you're going into Triumph of St. Catherine, again, toughness 3, 4-up save, it'll be alive, but he should do 9 wounds against it. So against, like, Lixus, statistically, he would have done the same, 9 wounds. So 9 wounds into a toughness 3 enemy, fight first, heroic intervention anywhere on the board. Pretty cool, right? Let's talk about toughness 4 then. Master of Executioner. I just played against these guys. They're really annoying to deal with, the World Eaters, because it means that their berserkers fight first. So if the berserkers charge you, jumping in and killing the Master of Executioner would be very valuable. The Master of Executioner is also really good at killing Blood Angel's characters. Again, the Sanguinor will just kill him. Statistically, he will be dead. What about Ragnar Blackmane? He's got an extra wound. He's got a 4-up invan. Again, the Sanguinor will just kill him. So I guess if the Ragnar Blackmane, and I actually don't know what Ragnar leads these days, but it used to be, was it Wolven he could lead? Or maybe it was Assault Intercessors, one of the two. If he jumps in with a squad, doesn't matter. Sanguinor can just instantly join the fight, precision him, kill him. And remember, for precision, you only need to draw line of sight to your enemy. You don't need to be in base contact with him, and that's really important. We're going to come back to that in a minute as well. Toughness 5 enemies. A war boss. You ever been charged by a war boss leading 10 boys? Sorry, 10, is it knobs? Is it knobs that all have the power fists? The war boss once per game in the WAG goes up to like 9 attacks with power fists. He's generally really nuisance. He kills a lot of Blood Angels. Well, in this case, the Sanguinor just intervenes and kills him out straight away. Against like a Grand Master, that is a Grey Knight with 7 wounds and T5. Statistically, the Sanguinor should do 7.47 wounds against him. So it's literally going to hinge on like 1 lucky save or 1 lucky dev wound, but there's a very good chance that he will just kill him. So he's in Terminator armor with 7 wounds. Sanguinor should just kill him. And then the Foul Blightspawn, the fight first Death Guard character that is generally really annoying. Sanguinor just flat up kills him as well. So you can see how effective he is against these toughness 3, 4, and 5 characters. Most of them he's just going to lift. Statistically, there wasn't a single one there that lived, right? Apart from Triumph of St. Catherine with her 18 wounds. But doing 9 wounds to her before she gets to do anything would actually be pretty meaningful. Anyway, let's talk about toughness 6. Typhus. He's a bit of a nightmare. T6, 6 wounds in 4-up invulnerable save. What should the Sanguinor do? Statistically, he should fail 1.5 saves, and he should take 1.5 dev. So, statistically, he could do 6 damage. But there's going to be a bit of swing here. So maybe Typhus just lives. But maybe he also dies. It's 50-50 almost. Against the War Boss in Mega Armor, he's T6 with 7 wounds, 5-up invuln. He should fail 2 saves, which would do 4 damage. He should take the 1.5 dev, which would do 3 damage. So again, it's kind of 50-50. Like, it's going to depend on if you luck out and get a second 6 against these 2 characters, and when you're rolling 8 dice, looking for 6s, re-rolling 1, still looking for 6s, a couple of 6s is quite possible. If you roll that double 6, you pretty much almost just kill Typhus and the War Boss. Even a World Eater Lord on a Juggernaut. T6, 7 wounds, 4-up save. He should do the same that Typhus does. He should take 6 wounds. So you leave the Lord on a Juggernaut on 1 wound. So, toughness 6 is like an oh shit, I guess I'm going to try and kill you with toughness 6. But toughness 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, it's like any character. He can just jump in and kill them. Almost guaranteed. So if you need to get rid of the character because he provides an aura that you don't like or something like that, you can jump in and kill them. And I guess, you know, the same thing goes. It's AP3. So against like MSU squads, assuming that they're not on 3 wounds, if it's 2 wound models, he's going to be very good at killing 2 wound models. Like against those orcs, he's probably going to kill like potentially up. Depends if they're in their WA and they've got the 5-up invuln. But if they don't, he's killing multiple models, right? So pretty good at precisioning out enemy characters. And then, this is a trick that I thought you would do, right? You would use Unto the Burning Sky. So in your opponent's charge phase, you arrive, you precision out a bunch of or you precision out and kill their character, and then at the end of the fight phase, your opponent's fight phase, you can put them back in strategic reserve. So that seems to be like what you would want to do, right? But in LVO, which was the biggest tournament of the year, where Jack came third with Blood Angels, we covered that list a few weeks ago on the channel, he used the Sanguinor, and he just used Sanguinary Grace and instantly fell the Sanguinor back and charged it into something else that, you know, didn't have fight first, that he could just do a bunch of damage to, right? Because against those toughness 3, 4, and 5 things, he's actually very effective. And the Sanguinor, even because he's got those dev wounds and 6s, in Jack's game, one of the games, he just fell him back and charged him into Rebuti Gilliman, and just instantly he rolled 3 6s and did 6 dev wounds to Gilliman, which was really big in the course of the game, because Gilliman can be an absolute nightmare for Blood Angels to deal with, so starting him off with losing 6 dev wounds was very, very powerful. So, yes, you can pick him back up, put him back into the sky, but there's something to be said of, if you're using Sanguinary Grace as your Angelic Inheritor special ability for your characters, which you should be, then you can just jump off and go kill something else, because he is very efficient at killing. One of the things that we noticed recently is Dante is the same as the Sanguinor, you know, 8 attacks in Angelic Inheritors, rerolling hits of 1, hitting on 2s, rerolling wounds of 1. That's actually very, very powerful. It actually makes those characters much more reliable, because normally when you roll Dante's 9 attacks, you're usually like, oh, I got a couple of 1s. Then I have to roll my wounds. I got a couple of 1s. And just re-rolling those 1s is generally very, very good. And this is why this character is much stronger, I feel like, Angelic Inheritors. And Angelic Inheritors, I think he's almost an auto pick. Whereas in Liberator Assault Group, I just don't include him at all. You know, what I was saying is you could easily mop up 2 wound MSU characters as well. Or just precision out another character. You know, with 8 attacks, hitting on 2s, re-rolling 1s, it's 7.75 hits. If you're going into toughness 4 enemies, they're going to have to take like 5 or 6 saves at AP 3, 2 damage. I mean, if you're just talking about regular Marines, I think realistically he kills about 5 regular Marines with an average roll. With a good roll, kills a couple more maybe. Okay, and let's talk about positioning. In this example, my squad of company heroes is about to be charged by Darth Vader and 10 Stormtroopers. Now, you could just pretend this is the Master of Executioner, and these are 10 Khorne Berserkers. I don't own those models, but, I mean, the position is what's important here, not what models are on the table, right? So, Darth Vader and his buddies roll their 6 on the charge. So that basically means the first row are going to have to be in base contact, right? You have to place them in base-to-base contact if you can. And then the second 2 rows are just going to file in behind, right? And when they use their 3-inch pylon, they're going to come in, and pretty much everybody's going to be able to fight in this example with a 6-inch charge, which is a very average, easy charge to make, right? So we make our 6-inch charge. You can see here the back row are going to move their 6 inches as well. And then you can imagine with the 3-inch pylon that we've got there, everybody, maybe one guy at the very back is not going to get to fight, but everybody else is going to be able to touch one of the guys in the front row. Everybody is fighting. If this was indeed Khorne Berserkers, I feel like 10 Khorne Berserkers, I think that's 5 chainsword attacks per guy, so it would be like 40 chainswords at AP 1, strength 5, and then there's like 2 guys with eviscerators, which are like AP 2, 2 damage, strength 8 or something. Like, it might not kill the company heroes, but it's going to devastate them, right? And that's before the Master of Executioner fights, and he's going to get to do a bunch of damage as well. So this would be a pretty nasty charge to have to deal with. The company heroes are going to take a lot of damage here. Now, you can see here, I just measured to show you the back row are within 3, so they would be able to move forward and touch the bases. So basically, in this situation, basically all 10 Berserkers and the Master of Execution are going to be able to fight the company heroes. If the company heroes survive this, that would be good, but I feel like probably they're going to die. It's just too many weight of attacks, right? So once per battle, the end of your opponent's charge phase, and this would be the end of the charge phase, right, before they have consolidated and piled in and all that good stuff, or I guess they pile in first, right? So before they have piled in, before they have activated this unit, set the Sanguinor up within engagement range of this enemy unit. So points, if you can guess where he's going to go. I think there's 2 places he could go. And the 2 places that you should put him in this situation, I think, are way up here or way down here in the corner. And the reason being is if we put him way up here, and we don't need to set up in base contact, we can set him up in engagement range. So 0.99 of an inch, or just within an inch of this guy here, right? So when this unit is going to And I mean, the Sanguinor's fighting first, right? So you got two choices with the Sanguinor when he arrives here, right? The two choices would be, he just fights into the unit, and he kills, if these were Berserkers, toughness 4, 3 up save. I think conservatively, he kills 4, but maximum he probably can kill 6 or 7. They are only saving on 6s, you are wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s, obviously hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. So, we either precision out this Master Executioner, which we can do, or we kill 5 or 6 Berserkers. Arguably, if you killed out the Master Executioner in this example, he probably takes a couple of other guys with him as well, because the Executioner actually has no invuln save, so he would also be only saving on 6s, and 2 failed saves would be him dead, so he could actually kill Executioner on like 3 Berserkers. So this is a great example of what he can potentially do. So let's say he does conservatively kill those 5 Berserkers here. Now this is where the interesting thing happens. So now it's the Khorne player's turn to activate. What can he do? Right? Because this guy, if he wants to touch the Sanguinor, then none of these other 4 models can move. So this model is going to have to maintain coherency. Arguably, I don't even think he can stay in coherency. Just, maybe, because there's 6 left. But there's no way this model can fight. So in this situation where he kills 5, 1 Berserker can fight the Sanguinor. 1 Berserker can do nothing, and now into the squad, rather than all 10 Berserkers, it's going to be 3 and the character. So they can still do a good bit of damage, but it is obviously a lot less, in that we basically pulled 7 Berserkers away from the squad, and 1 Berserker statistically can't even kill this guy, because he's got 7 wounds. Even if it was the guy with the Eviscerator, you'd be very unlucky to die, because you've got a 4-up invulnerable save. So this thins the squad. Doesn't deal with the fight first, but totally thins the squad. Potentially saves your squad. Interesting. The second example, and as you can see here, I measured this, right? So like this guy is literally in no man's land. So you can have 1 Berserker fighting the Sanguinor. So there's no other real option for him to pull. The other option for him to pull would actually need to pull these models, the 5 closest to him. And then, I guess in that case, the Sanguinor is out of combat, so he's free to do whatever the hell he wants, and I guess these 2 could have piled in. So if he didn't want to fight the Sanguinor, if he didn't want to keep him in combat, yeah, maybe he could have pulled these 5. But there's no good solution for him in terms of, like, the Sanguinor arrived, kills 5 of them because it fights first. What are you going to do? If, on the other hand, he does kill the Lord Executioner first, like I said, I think damage should actually flow onto like 3 more guys. Because if he's going to kill 5 toughness 4, 2 wound guys, this is just a toughness 4, 4 wound guy, the Master Executioner. So we possibly pick up these 3, and then what does he have? He has maybe 2 or 3 fight the Sanguinor, and 3 fight the squad. I don't think 3 guys with chainswords and 1 Eviscerator is all that problematic for the squad. Or he pulls some of the ones from here, and maybe all 7 fight the squad, and maybe the 7 still do good damage to the squad, but the fight first is gone, and a bunch of other guys are gone. So this is a situation that he could have maybe done, where the Master Executioner was dead, and by some miraculous intervention, the AP3 leftover attacks didn't kill anyone else in the squad. Now you've got 5 guys in the squad into him, and 3 guys into the Sanguinor. I think 3 guys are probably still unlikely to kill the Sanguinor. 5 into the squad are doable. But like I said, he probably overflows some damage here. This would be a perfect example for where he can arrive to be problematic. Because it limits, remember when you consolidate, or sorry, when you pile in, you have to pile into the closest model. Like that is the rule. So, and you have to maintain coherency. So like, in this situation, we kind of have to have guys in no man's land, and they have to go towards the closest model. So if in a situation where you were even more daisy chained out, imagine if there'd been like a row of 2 guys here, and they were coming in like in 2 rows, or 3 rows rather than like 4 deep. You could still place them way over in the corner here, and then you could potentially limit like even more guys in the middle into no man's land where they can't fight the squad and they can't fight the Sanguinor and they have to remain coherency. So the more strung out your opponent is, like if they do a long charge and there's a long distance between their front models and their back models, you can put this guy in really awkward positions. And the other interesting thing is, I haven't got an example of it here, but sometimes people said you can actually put him engagement range of 2 units. If there was like a multi-charge going on here, he could potentially come back and engage, not touching again, within 1 inch of 2 units, potentially preventing 2 units from piling in to a unit that you really need to keep alive, like the Company Heroes. You guys know that I love the Company Heroes. So there's a lot you can do with the Sanguinor, right? And I think sometimes his threat is probably worth more than what he can deliver, right? Like, I'd probably be honest at the start of the game about this with my opponent, telling him, like, he can just appear in engagement range after you've made a charge. If he doesn't have to do that, he can still rapid ingress. He can still score points as a single model. Normally, you have to do his Miraculous Savior in turn 2 or 3 if you're playing, like, Pariah Nexus rules. But if you start him on the board and you return him to Deep Strike with the stratagem, then you could Miraculous Savior in turns 4 or 5 if you haven't used it. Remember, you can only use it once per game. I think his value is arguably way higher in Angelic Inheritors, do the rerolls and the fallback and charge just all the time. Having lost recently to both World Eaters and Death Guards by a few points, being able to pretty much guarantee snipe out their fight first leader is massively beneficial. It can be extremely clutch, and it can also prevent them, like, it can just mind game them. Like, I'm not sure they want to charge because we know we're going to get Sanguinored. If you've been using them, drop a comment, right, to share with your brothers how you've used them. If I have missed something, which I don't think I have, but if I have missed a way that you can get even more value out of him, please leave it in the comments down below as well. And that's it. That's how you use the Sanguinor. That's what he's good against, toughness 3, 4, and 5. And if you want to learn more about Blood Angels, this is the last video I made, so check it out now. It was recapping this list here and how I played it at a tournament in Liberator Assault Group, and I actually really like this list. So check that video out. It should be a cool one. If you are buying any models from Element Games in the UK or Wargame Portal in the US, there are affiliate links in the description to support the channel, and you can also support for like the price of a cup of coffee over on Patreon. Thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. Please leave a like. I'm here every Friday with some sort of tactics video, and also we've got live battle reports usually every Wednesday night. It's been nice to see you all. Hopefully we'll get some cool comments. I try and engage with as many as I can. I'll catch you in the next tactics videos, my friend. By the blood are we made strong. Peace.